الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة لأهل التقوى واليقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المأسومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا علينا للهدى وإنا لنا للآخرة والأولى صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. We are commemorating the martyrdom of Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad alayhi salatu wassalam. He took the imamat from his father at the martyrdom of his father at the age of 8 or 9. He was very young. And this was the first time that a young imam has taken over the imamate. Even though our belief is that imam is imam from birth, in fact, an imam is an imam from the day he was created. You cannot acquire infallibility, you cannot attain and acquire the position of divine leadership. It is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides and He bestows. So He chose the imams from the creation of the heavens and the earth, from when He created them, and for their sake He created the heavens and the earth. But it was a new experience for many of the people who were Muslims at the time that a young person claimed that he was an imam, was only 8 or 9. Even for Salatul Jama'ah, one of the obligations is that the person should be baligh. Bulugh is one of the conditions that a person is an adult, reaches puberty or becomes 15 years of age. And this was an imam who was only 9, and we believed and we still believe that he was a divine leader, Imam Mansus min Allah. So this was a big moment for the Shias, even though they had seen that the Holy Prophet said, Hassan or Hussein are my sons and they are imams, qama o qada, when they were only 4 and 5. But when they were holding the position of the divine leadership, they were much older. When the time of the imamat came and the people announced that our imam is Imam al-Jawad al-Islam, who is only 9, many Shias were sitting together. Fadl ibn Shahdan says that very close circle of companions, ashab of Imam Raza alayhi salam, about 6 or 7 people were sitting together. Very few people sitting together. One of them says, stop discussing the topic of imamat because the imam is only a child. We need to decide who will represent the imam until he becomes baligh, he becomes an adult. Fadl ibn Shahdan says that one of the people got up and held him with the throat and said, we thought you are one of the Shias. We only found out now that you are a munafiq. You don't even believe in the imamat properly. He said, why do you say that? He said, because you think that the imam needs to become baligh to become an imam. So a whole new debate started within the Shias. You see that there were divisions within Shias. There were different sects being made, like the Alawis after Imam Ali alayhi salam. And we have the Zaydiyya, the Ismailiyya, Fathiyya, Waqifiyya. But anyone who arrives at the imamat of the 8th Imam alayhi salam goes all the way to the 12th Imam alayhi salam. One of the greatest contributions of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam is that he did not allow any further divisions even though he was only 9 years at the time of the starting of his imamate. This is one of the greatest contributions. I hope I have everyone's attention. I want to explore this and explain this further. How was it that only a 9-year-old holds the Shias together, while there are still questions why during his time people are saying, how can he be an imam? He's only 9. When Imam Raza was asked, Mawla, what is a sign that a person is an imam? There could be a false claim. A person falsely claims that I'm an imam. What is the sign that this person is a true imam? Mansus min Allah. So he said signs, and he said the first sign is the ilm, knowledge. The imam has special knowledge. We call it ilm imamat in Farsi, Urdu and other places, or ilm ladunni according to the Quran. Many different names are given to this knowledge, the special knowledge of the imams alayhimus salam. So he says first sign is his knowledge. Whoever claims that he is an imam, he will have special knowledge. He said, Mawla, what are the other signs? And he said, dua, for example. The dua of an imam will never be rejected. So anyway, so the first sign is knowledge. When Imam Raza moved from Medina to Khurasan, to Tus, well, not to Tus at first, but he was buried in Tus, but originally Marv and other places. His brothers and sisters started migrating from Medina to Iraq and to Iran. And that's why you'll see a lot of the brothers and sisters of Imam Raza buried in Iran, killed by Bani Abbas. So a lot of them are buried, Qom, Isfahan, central Iran and southern Iran, they're all there. And on the way, his wife and his son also migrated, because his wife and son were in Medina with his brothers and sisters. One of the problems that his brothers and sisters had with the Imam was that he wasn't as fair as his father, and he did not have the straight hair like Imam Raza. So the brothers and sisters said, what is the proof that he is your son? He said his mother is from Al-Maghrib, Morocco, that area. And that's why he has curly hair. And he doesn't have my skin color. So they said, no, we're going to call a qa'if, an expert on qiyafa. In olden days they had experts who would just smell the air and say which bird flew by. Big experts. These are people who were, like people who traced the Holy Prophet all the way to the cave. When he was migrating from Mecca to Medina, they brought the tribal heads, Abu Sufyan, Abu Jahl and all of them, they brought them to the cave and said, we can see the marks on the rocks. They could follow the trace and say that they have arrived here. You don't make any marks on the rocks, yes? Even then they traced them all the way to the cave. And so they were saying that, I don't want to go into more details. But now, this is someone who was an expert in olden days. Qa'if is one of the people who just read your face and say who you are, your background. This is not permissible in Islam. Al-qiyafatu haramun. In Muharrama, Makasim Muharrama of Shaykh Murtada Ansari, he says, Al-qiyafatu haramun. In Farsi, say qiyafa shanasi. Or basically, reading the faces is not permissible in Islam because of nas from Imam Raza and other. And he mentions this story there, Shaykh Murtada Ansari. Shaykh al-Fuqaha, or Ustad al-Fuqaha, Khatam al-Fuqaha they call him. One of the greatest scholars we've had in the past 200 years. And in his book he mentions this story that the brothers and sisters of Imam Raza said that we want to call a qa'if, and the Imam said, Amma anna fala, as far as I'm concerned, I don't agree with it. But they said, we want to be sure that he is your son. So the qa'if comes and he looks at the Imam and he says that, and the ninth Imam, and he says that he is the son of the eighth Imam, who they had told not to wear a turban and not to wear the dress of the Hashemites, Bani Hashim, made him wear the dress of the normal Arabs and made him stand outside the house. So when the Qaif came, he said salam to the Imam. Imam replied, and later on he looked at Imam al-Jawad and he said, he is the son of your slave who is standing outside. He said, he's not our slave. We told him not to dress like the Hashemites. So the Imam al-Islam moved when his father had moved and had been killed with his uncles and aunts from Medina to on the way to Iran. They moved to Baghdad and they were living there. Ma'mun, after killing Imam Raza alayhi salam, he also killed his brother Amin, and he moved the capital from Khurasan again back to Baghdad, his father's capital. When he came to Baghdad, Shaykh Abbas Qumi in Muntal Amal, Marhum Allama Majlisi, and other big scholars have mentioned this in many, many different historical events, that Ma'mun was, when a person does a major sin, something like killing a prophet or an imam, the doors of repentance close on you. You cannot repent and you don't have peace of mind. Like Yazid used to always say, I do not have peace of mind. So the doctor at the time told him that he needs to go for hunting for peace of mind. Likewise, Ma'mun never had peace of mind. So they said, when he asked, what should I do? They said, go for hunting. Even today, if you go to the Arab world, you will see a lot of them having eagles. Eagles are quite a treat for all the kings and the rich people in olden times. So he was traveling, holding his eagle, and one of the servants was holding some eagles. They were going to hunt some birds. As he is leaving Baghdad, in olden days, the cities had a boundary. They had a wall. They had many doors. They had gates that people would come in from. As he was leaving, one of the members of his army announced that the Khalifa is coming and people should move out of the way. So everyone started running. And as Ma'mun was leaving, he saw that there is a boy who is very young, 9 years of age, and he's not running away, he stands on the side. So when he was passing by, he looked at the boy and he looked in his eyes, he got off and he said, why aren't you running away? When everyone is running away from me, why aren't you running away? He said, for 3 reasons. 1, I'm not blocking your way. Number 2, I haven't committed a sin. 3rd, I have husn adhan with you. I have good intention that you will not kill me. I'm quite optimistic that you will not kill me. Or is that what you do? You just kill innocent people. So indirectly he pointed to him that you kill innocent people. Ma'mun turned around and said, who are you? He said, Ana Muhammad ibn Ali. I am Muhammad ibn Ali. Muhammad, son of Ali. He said, which Ali? He said, Ali ibn Musa al-Raza alayhi salam. He said, the one in Khurasan? He said, yes, that was my father. Ma'mun was quite amazed and he knew straight away that this is not an ordinary person. He's not an ordinary boy. His answers also told him that he's not an ordinary person, his knowledge. He left. On his way he sent, when he saw a bird, Durraj, he made the eagle fly behind this bird, and after a long time when the eagle came back, not seen for many minutes, it came back and it had a small fish and not the bird. So he thought to himself, hang on, the eagle went into the air, came back with the fish. There are no rivers around, and so what happened? People said, we don't know what's going on. So he said, okay, when we go back in my museum, just place this fish and write below it, this was a fish that Ma'mun al-Rashid, the Khalifa, His eagle went to the air and brought back a fish rather than a bird. Continuously on his way back to Baghdad, he was thinking, where did the fish come from? As soon as he arrived in Baghdad, again the person announced, one of his servants, one of his army men, the king is arriving, or the Khalifa is arriving. People started running away and the children started vacating the streets. And again he sees that there is a boy standing on the side and he is telling a goat, Usjud lillah, do sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Comes forward, he said, what are you doing? Playing with a goat? He said, وَمَا خُلِقْنَا لِلَّهِ وَاللَّعِبِ. We have not been created in vain and to play and waste our time. Ma'mun got off this time. Quickly placed his hand in his pocket, took out the fish and hid it. Like many people play with the children, what am I holding? So he said, what do I have in my fist? To Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam turns around and says that kings go for hunting. And when they send an eagle behind a bird, due to pressure in the water many times, when the rivers have some special states, like tsunamis, but he uses some other words that I cannot translate. So he says that when those happen, and sometimes small fish due to pressure cannot hold on to the river, they come up with the evaporation of the river. The eagle sees the fish bouncing in the air, so he leaves the bird and goes and picks the fish and comes back to the king, and the kings are amazed. And they come to the Dhurriyat Salalatul Rasul, they come to the children of the Holy Prophet and ask them, trying them, what is in their fist. So he said the whole story, what had happened behind. Ma'mun straight away said, Allahu a'lamu haythu yaj'alu risalatah. Allah knows best where to place His message, who to make a prophet and who to make an imam. He said, then if you're not playing with this goat, then what were you doing with the goat? He said, when we are little, we tell the animals that are disobedient to Allah to do sajda to Allah. And when we grow up, we tell tyrant kings to do sajda to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma'mun knew straight away that he is threatening me. He said, who do you live with? In Baghdad, he said, I live with my mother. He said, do you pray? Hal tusalli, do you do salat? He said, yes. He said, why? You're not baligh yet. Namaz, salat is not wajib upon you. Then why do you pray? He said, when you know it is an obligation, then it is an obligation. I'm not sure if I conveyed that. There's a rule in our fiqh that a person is forgiven for an obligation if they don't know they had an obligation. But a person who knows that he has an obligation is not forgiven. So the Imam turned around and used that ruling and said that when a person knows that he has an obligation, then he has an obligation. Makes no difference. My knowledge is different to yours. My obligations are different to yours. Ma'mun found it fascinating that a small boy can go into philosophy so deep. So straight away he turns around and says, but then why do you pray? He said, I see my mother cook food, and before she places in the big wood, because it doesn't burn, she places small wood in the oven, and then when it catches fire, she places the big wood. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I do not wish for Allah to be placing small people like me inside to make the fire big to place you in. The tyrants like you, the zalimeen. So he knew, Ma'mun knew that he's telling him that zalimeen go to they go to hell. Ma'mun then decided that he wants his daughter to get married to Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. So he announced to all the Bani Abbas that I am going to marry my daughter to Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad. So they said, we want to see him. When they met the Imam alayhi salam, they said, he's only a boy. Why are you making the princess marry a boy? Ma'mun said, he's not an ordinary person, he's not a boy. He is very learned. He's very intelligent. and he belongs to the Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam, and I need to have him in my palace. Once he is married, then I can control him. We can spy on him. He said, no, he doesn't need to be controlled. He said, no, you don't understand him. So they started, he said, okay, we'll test him. We'll have a debate with Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. So all the Bani Abbas got together and they invited the greatest living scholar at the time. His name was Yahya ibn Aqsam. Yahya ibn Aqsam was about 70 years of age. He was very learned, strong. And he was the Grand Mufti of the time. He belonged to the state. You know, you have the Grand Muftis that work for the state. Sometimes you use the word Mufti Azam of Syria, Mufti Azam of Iraq. You know, so the Grand Muftis of so-and-so country. So he was the Grand Mufti of Ma'mun. His state was run under Yahya ibn Aqsam. So he calls Yahya ibn Aqsam and he says, okay, you want to debate this boy? They placed the member for the Imam alayhi salam. The Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam was sitting on the member. Yahya ibn Aqsam came and he said, would you ask me a question or shall I question you? The Imam said, you decide. He was so confident of his knowledge. He said, you decide. You want to ask me a question or shall I ask you? Yahya said, okay, I'll ask the first question. We have 56 chapters in our fiqh. Tahara, Salat, Hajj, Zakat, Khums, Jihad, Nikah, Talaq, Diyat, Qisas, all of these. At Imam al-Shabai, yes, we have 56 chapters. The most difficult chapter, they say, is Hajj. The ahkam are quite difficult. And the most difficult part in Hajj are the kafarat for the turuk. You know, we have, once you start to wear ihram, then things become haram on you. You can't hunch, you can't look at the mirror. So many things become haram. So the kafarat of those turuk, those things which are forbidden, are quite difficult. Everything has a different kafara. So Yahya ibn Aqsam thought that if I ask him a question from the kafarat of Hajj, he'll be stuck with my question. He'll not be able to answer. So he said, okay, tell me, if a muhrim, person wearing ihram, he hunts something, he kills an animal, what is the kafara for that? The crowd there were many hundreds of people in the palace of Ma'mun. They all started thinking, what's going on? Such a difficult question from such a little boy. He's only 9. We don't know the answer to this question. Why such a difficult question? So they said, let's see if the boy can answer. The Imam said, can you complete your question? He said, my question is complete. He said, no, your question is incomplete. Yahya said, no, I'm asking if the muhrim hunts an animal, what is the kafara? He said, tell me if the muhrim was wearing the ihram for Hajj or Umrah. Tell me if the muhrim hunted inside the haram or outside the haram. Tell me if the muhrim was baligh, an adult, or a young boy. Tell me, was it the first time the muhrim hunted, or was it a previous event as well? He had previously been hunting. Tell me if he knew the mas'ala, if he knew the issue, if he did not know the issue. Tell me if he was a slave or was he a free person. Tell me if that was a bird or an animal. If he was an animal, then tell me if he was a big animal or a small animal. Tell me, clarify to me what your question is. Did he hunt during the night or during the day? Was he regretful and repenting? So the Imam asked 13 questions from one question of Yahya ibn Aqsam. When he asked those 13 questions, he said, now tell me what's your question. Yahya said, I'm not sure myself. You tell me. He said, each place has a different penalty. Each place has a different kafara. Ma'mun turned around and the crowd started saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ma'mun turned around and said, do you know all the kafarat for all the different places? He said, yes. He said, don't tell me now, but tell me later. I want to know as well because I don't even know the different kafarat. These are the people who were ruling the Muslims at the time. Not very different to today's situation. They said, I don't know, but I'll tell you later. You know, Ma'mun said, I don't know, so I need you to tell me. Now the Imam alayhi salam had the attention of all the people. He said, shall I ask you a question? To Yahya ibn Akhtam. He said, I'll try and answer your question, but if I don't know, then I'll try and benefit from you. He knew that I'll not be able to answer the question of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. You know the story. The Imam alayhi salam said, tell me a man who looks at a woman at Fajr time, she is haram, but at dawn she is halal. At Dhuhr time she becomes haram again. At Asr she becomes halal. At Maghrib she becomes haram. At Isha she becomes halal. At midnight she is haram. At Salatul Layl she is halal. He said, I don't know such a man, such a woman. What is going on in 24 hours? So many, 5 times she becomes haram, 5 times halal. The Imam al-Islam said, because I'm a child, I asked you a childish question. But look at the depth. He kept on to his age, but he kept so deep in the question. He said, is there a person in this crowd who knows the answer to this question? The entire crowd said, we don't know the answer. Then the Imam turned around towards Ma'mun and said, do you know the answer? He said, no, I don't know such a man. The Imam said, this was a man who looked at another woman who belonged to another man. She was an amma, she was a slave girl. So it was haram for her to look at someone else's slave. But he bought her, so she became halal. He made her a free person. She became haram to look at a free woman. He married her, so she became halal. But he did zihar, one of the types of divorces, which is haram in Islam, but he did zihar. She became haram again. He gave the kafara for zihar, she became halal again. He gave her talaq rij'i, basically when you can do ruju. So she became haram again. He did ruju, she became halal. So he went into explaining and the crowd said, this boy is not an ordinary boy. So Ma'mun said, now do you all understand why I'm marrying my daughter to him? They said, yes. He said, now, which alim amongst the people do you want to recite your aqd? The Imam al-Islam said, it was Rasulullah who recited the aqd of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and it was Amir al-Mu'mineen who recited the aqd of Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam. It was Hussein alayhi salam who recited the aqd of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Had my father been present, he would recite my aqd. But because my father is not here, I don't see any of you worthy enough to recite my aqd. I'll recite my own aqd. Today the sermon that we have, Alhamdulillah qaraaran bi ni'matih wa la ilaha illallah khalasun li. This sermon is from Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. This famous sermon that we all recite in the weddings is from Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. Now, the time is short, it's running out. I want to very quickly cover other dimensions. Now, Yahya ibn Akhtam became extremely jealous of the Imam alayhi salam because the Imam was answering all questions and the people started asking questions. Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi in Bihar al-Anwar, he says that 16,000 people gathered from all over Iraq in Baghdad to see the Imam alayhi salam, to ask questions. Because they had heard that there is only a 9-year-old boy who answers every question you ask him. Any question you ask him, he answers. So the people started gathering in Baghdad to ask questions. Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi says the Imam only used to take a break for the prayers. And he sat down continuously answering the people. And the whole of Iraq, the people, when they were turning up, people started converting to the Imam alayhi salam. Ma'mun, who wanted to control the Imam by making him son-in-law, he saw that the people in Iraq started converting to the path of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. This is the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When He wants, He can appoint an Imam at the age of 9. So Yahya asked him a question, how are you an Imam? You're only 9. Why would Allah choose you to be an Imam? He said, have you read Quran? To Yahya. He said, have you read Quran? He said, yes, of course I have read Quran. I'm the Grand Mufti. I know thousands of hadiths. I know the whole of Quran. The Imam said, okay, have you read this ayat? وَآتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا سَبِيًّا. We gave the wisdom and the authority to Yahya when he was only, Sabi is, Saad ba ya is, when a person hasn't reached bulugh, when a person is only a child. He said, yes, I have read this verse. He said, when Yahya ibn Zakaria can be a Nabi, can be a prophet in childhood, then why cannot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make someone from Ali Muhammad an Imam in childhood? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There are a series of questions, if I may. very quickly touch upon. That Yahya then asked the Imam alayhi salam. Yahya now started feeling jealous, and at the end he gave a fatwa. Not to Mamun, because Mamun had died, and then his sons took over. And one of the sons, when he became the Khalifa, he asked his sister, who was married to Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, to spy on the Imam and see if he has a plot against the Khulafa to overthrow the government of Bani Abbas. And at the end, he wanted a person to give fatwa that Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, it is allowed to kill him. It is allowed to kill him. And who was it who gave the fatwa that Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam should be killed? It was Yahya, the same person. He was ill of character, but he gave a fatwa that Imam al-Jawad should be killed, should be removed from the path of Bani Abbas. Bani Abbas are legally authorized from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rule, and Imam al-Jawad has no right, so he should be killed. Now, very briefly, I want to mention some questions. So the first question Yahya ibn Akhtam asked, he said, the Quran says that something in paradise, example of paradise is that everything will be present at all times. You know, anything, any food, any fruits that you ever intend for, they will be always present, but they will always be fresh. They will always be fresh. How can that be? What is your answer to that? How is everything always present and is always fresh? He said, have you seen dust, earth? He said, yes. He said, it's always present and it's always fresh. It doesn't get old. He said, can you give me another example? He said, fire doesn't get old. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps whatever He likes fresh. He said, then how will they eat and not have any waste? He said, just like a child in the womb of the mother eats, grows, but never has any waste. He said, did the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never say that Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Holy Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ana radin min al-shaykhain. I am pleased with shaykhain. You ask the shaykhain, are they pleased with me? The Imam alayhi salam said, before I answer your question. So Yahya said to, you all understand shaykhain? You don't need me to explain, yes? It's being recorded, so inshallah you'll all understand. So he said, the Holy Prophet was asked by Jibreel alayhi salam from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya, O my messenger, Ya Rasulullah, I am pleased with the two. You tell me, ask them, are they pleased with me? Imam Jawad alayhi salam said, he said, let me ask you a few questions before I answer this question. He said, have you heard this hadith of my grandfather, the Holy Prophet? لَقَدْ كَثُرَتِ الْكَذَابَ عَلَيَّ. You know, people who lie and make up, fabricate traditions, they have increased in number. They fabricate traditions and say the Holy Prophet said this. Have you heard this? He said, yes. مَنْ كَذَبَ عَلَيَّ مُتَعَمِّدًا فَقَدْ بَوَّعَ مَقَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. Whoever intentionally fabricates a tradition and relates it to me, he will go to hell. Have you heard this? He said, yes, the Holy Prophet said this. He said, now let me ask you another question. Have you read this verse from the Holy Quran? That we created the mankind. Yes, and we are closer to man than his jugular vein. We know even the whisper that takes place in the heart of a man, what happens, even the waswasa that happens in the heart, we know. He said, yes. This is an ayah in the Holy Quran. The Imam said, now can you tell me, is your question genuine? The Almighty who knows even the waswasa in the heart would say, oh my messenger, please ask these two people, are they pleased with me? Is that possible? Allah knows what happens in the hearts of people. Allah knew if they are pleased or not. He continuously asked different questions. He wanted the Imam alayhi salam to openly say something that he would hold against the Imam alayhi salam. But the Imam so intelligently answered all questions that Yahya had no place. When he became 18, he left Baghdad and he went back to Medina and he got married again. And then Allah gave him 2 sons and a daughter. Imam Ali al-Hadi alayhi salam, Musa Mubarqa, who is buried in Qom, and Hakima Khatun, basically Hazrati Hakima salam alayha, who was a daughter, who was a witness of the birth of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. She is buried in Samarra. Now, Ma'mun's daughter started feeling jealous that the other wife has now 3 children. She did not have any children. It was the knowledge of the Imam that shocked everyone. And very briefly, I want to touch on the last point before I say some parts of Musibah. It was very difficult in the time of the 9th Imam. It was the Bani Abbas who was sponsoring the likes of Imam al-Bukhari, who compiled a Sahih. It was the same time as the 9th Imam alayhi salam. So now the duty of the 9th Imam alayhi salam had become 10 times bigger. So many of his students, he was training to compile the books of his forefathers, ahadith of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And there came compilation of booklets called Usul Arba'amiyah. Usul, basically principles, 400 books on the principles of the Shia beliefs. Our scholars believe that many of those are lost today, but many of those exist in Al-Kafi and many other books. But we lost many of those books. Can you imagine where our knowledge and our ijtihad would be today if we had all of the books that the students of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam contributed? So this was a great contribution by Imam Jawad alayhi salam in a time. Second thing he did was, he knew that Bani Abbas would try to completely eradicate the contribution of Ahlulbayt, eradicate their name. So what he did was, he started off, many different movements were hyping up. So he would approve certain people, not all, how to take the message to other parts of the world. And he had a network of students and deputies that he started off. This was new. So Imam started appointing deputies, so he had connection with his Shia all over the Islamic world. So he would not lose the connection. You see the beauty. It wasn't like today, you don't have the social media, you didn't have the telephones, you didn't have any emails, nothing. How would you communicate? Through his deputies. He started appointing Sufara, the Naibin, and that way collect the homes and distribute it amongst my Shia. He would tell them how to do it. How to resolve the problems of the Shia community at the time. It was very intelligently done. Had the 9th Imam not contributed, it would have been very difficult for people to understand. And the final thing that he did was, he prepared the minds for the 12th Imam alayhi salam, for ghaiba. We have so many traditions from the 9th Imam alayhi salam about the 12th Imam alayhi salam. In Bihar al-Anwar, there are 4 volumes, well today 4 volumes, the present 110 volume Bihar on the 12th Imam. And it has a lot of traditions from the 9th Imam alayhi salam. A person comes, very quickly I want to say this tradition and then I'll come to the Masail. Comes and says, Yabna Rasulullah, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said there will be 12 successors after me. You are the 9th one. Who will be the successor after you? Man al-Imam Badak. He said, my son Ali al-Hadi. He said, who will be the Imam after him? He said, his son Hassan al-Askari. He said, who will be the Imam after him? The Imam started crying. He cried and he cried. So the person asked again, he said, Mawla, who will be the Imam after him? So then he named him. He said, it will be Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. He says the name and he says the kunya and he says details and he says a title. Many of our scholars believe that if we say that title, then we have to stand up to show respect to the 12th Imam alayhi salam. Qaf, Alif, Hamza, Mim. So he said, when he said that title, he said, Mawla, are you all not qaim? He said, yes. But our 12th is a true establisher of adl and adala. He said, Mawla limada summiya al-qaim qaima. He said, why is he named? He said, لِأَنَّهُ يَقُومُ بَعْدَ ذِكْرَ مَوْتِهِ, because people will be saying he has died. That's when he will rise. You see, this has started even amongst Shia today. There are people who are intentionally creating doubts, and this was something mentioned by the 9th Imam alayhi salam in his time, when 12 centuries back. لأنه يقوم بعد ذكر موته. When the Imam migrated to Samarra, again to Baghdad, Mu'tamad, the Abbasi Khulafa, they were all tyrants, but some of them are more tyrants than the others. Many of you are very young. May Allah protect you all. Can you imagine a person who is only 25? He is infallible, he is special, and he knows he has to give his life. They say, the traditions mention, the history mentions, that at the time of the istishhad, the shahada of Imam Jawad alayhi salam, his mother was still alive. His mother was alive. She was in Medina. And who had the responsibility of informing the mother of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam that her son had died? Her grandson, Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam. The riwayah says that Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam, he said to his grandmother, he said, oh grandma, I feel that my father is dying. He's going through istishhad. She said, don't say that, my son is very young, he's only 25. Can you imagine a mother listening to the news of her son's shahada? She said, don't say that my son is dying, he's very young, he's only 25. So he had to now slowly prepare her that he is dying. He said, but oh grandmother, there is a special angel that remains with the Imam of his time. He has just come to me. That angel is with me now. That angel is here. You sometimes read in Quran, Ruhul Qudus, or a special angel that remains with the Imams because they're infallible. He said, that angel has come to me. That is a sign that my father has left this world. She started crying. And she said, can you tell me where my son has died? He said, he has been killed in Baghdad. In what state? Her mother started crying. She was crying loudly and screaming and saying, oh Allah, my son has been taken back. Oh Allah, you have taken my son. I have no complaints, oh Allah, to you. I cannot complain to you. But oh Allah, my son has come to you. So she asked a question, how did my son die? He said, Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam said, my father was poisoned. He was given poison. Can I ask another question? Have you ever seen other young people's deaths? There are many people who have died young. I remember a few people from the plains of Karbala. One of them is Ali al-Akbar. It is difficult for fathers and mothers to see their young sons die. You need the heart of Zainab-e-Kubra to bear the pains of the death of your own children. You need the heart of Fatimah-uz-Zahra to see the death of Muhsin. You need the heart of Zainab to see the death of On and Muhammad. You need the heart of Layla to see the death of Ali al-Akbar. It is not easy for any mother to see the pains of losing their own child. Let me go back to history and remind you. The Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam, the house of Fatimah-uz-Zahra salamullahi alayha, they lost their lives in different places. One of them is Imam Jawad alayhi salam. Tonight, in one of the dungeons in Baghdad, there is an Imam who is losing his life. that Imam alayhi salam is only 25. He does not cry. He only cries and says, "Oh Allah, be my witness. I did not abstain from your obedience. I am making my children yateem for your sake. I have no attachment to this dunya. Oh Allah, you be my witness. I did not commit any crime. I did not commit any crime, and these people are now killing me." When they poisoned him, he knew that they are giving him poison. He took the poison. The riwayah says that when Imam Jawad alayhi salam was being carried in a taboot, in a coffin, they brought him next to the grave of his grandfather, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam, Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. They brought him there. When they wanted to bury the Imam alayhi salam next to his father, his grandfather, I would say, Mawla, you still had the respect. No one trampled your body. Mawla, in the plains of Karbala, your grandfather Hussein's body was trampled on the ground. Mawla, you still had the grave, but your grandfather Hussein was not given a grave for 3 days. His body was lying in the plains of Karbala. The dust of Karbala was covering his body, and the sunlight was covering his body. It was only the souls of Fatima Zahra, the Holy Prophet, and Imam Ali, who were continuously crying upon Hussein ibn Ali. Mawla, Ya Imam al-Jawad, you were not trampled, your body was not hit by other people. Your son Imam al-Hadi was not lashed. They did not place any shackles in his neck. Mawla, you had a lot of difficulty, you lost your life. Mawla, we salute you, we send our blessings, we send our salutations. Mawla, but let me ask you a question. If your daughter Hakima was slapped on her face, Mawla, would you be able to take the pain? Mawla, Imam Sajjad sees his sister Ruqayya, who was slapped not once, not twice, but continuously from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Damascus, continuously she was hit. Mawla, may the blessings of Allah be upon you. Ala la'natullahi al-qawm al-zalimeen. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. You all came to a majlis, you all sat down in peace. You did not have any person stopping you from crying. But can I ask a question? Would you ever allow anyone to hit a female family member in front of you? After Karbala, many female members were lashed not once, not twice, continuously. They were not allowed to cry upon Hussein ibn Ali. They were not allowed to cry because the enemies decided that it was them who would decide when they can cry. Oh Allah, for the sake of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, for the sake of Ahlulbayt alayhi salam, for the sake of the Ahlulbayt who remain in the prisons, the members of the Holy Prophet's grandchildren who remain in the prisons in Damascus. Oh Allah, we want to see the reappearance of the 12th Imam. Oh Allah, hasten in the reappearance of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. Oh Allah, the world is oppressed today. Iraq has very bad situation. Syria has bad situation. Bahrain, Yemen. In Hijaz, in Pakistan, in Kashmir, in Afghanistan, in Nigeria, many parts of the world, people are going through difficulties. Oh Allah, protect all the mu'mineen in this world. Oh Allah, people are facing difficulties. Oh Allah, bring back your Imam, hasten in the reappearance to remove all the oppression from the surface of the earth. Oh Allah, there are many people who are going through tyranny, many people who are facing difficult times. Oh Allah, remove all the difficult times from the people who are facing them. Oh Allah, there are many people who are going through illnesses. For the sake of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, for the sake of the Imams who saw the difficult times and oppression, remove all the illnesses from all the mu'mineen. Oh Allah, there are many people who have asked us to pray for them. Oh Allah, accept the du'as of all the people who have asked to pray for them. Oh Allah, there are many people present here. Accept the du'as of all the people that are present here. Oh Allah, protect all of our holy sites, especially in Iraq. And oh Allah, we want to see al-Taqi rebuilt. Oh Allah, hasten in the reappearance of the 12th Imam alayhi salam, who rebuilds the grave of Fatima Zahra. Oh Allah, increase the life of our ulama maraj, especially the life of Ayatollah As-Sistani. Oh Allah, protect all the people that are serving in this center and protect all the people that are present here and accept our majalis, accept our du'as. Oh Allah, make us true followers of Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.